Hello everyone, this is Achilles from I Hate Media, and today I will be teaching you the basics of engineering in Hell Let Loose. This will be done in three sections, the first one being basic knowledge, the second one being supply essentials, and the third one being defensive fortifications, how to use them. Now, before we begin, I would like to say that this took a lot of work, and if you can go ahead and give me a subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it to get even more Hell Let Loose content, and to be reminded anytime anything new comes out. So also, I will separate this into chapters to make it really easy to go about and figure out what you need. So, let's begin. Welcome to the section on basic knowledge. Here we are going through all the different basic loadout tools and what they are used for. Aside from the standard primary for your preferred team and the bandages, you're given a wrench. Now, the wrench is used to select and place building blueprints for nodes or fortifications. Keep in mind that the wrench will only tell you if your location for a building is valid. If you place a blueprint outside of supply range, you won't know until you go to build it. The wrench can also dismantle your buildings to give you space to build more. The next tool you're given is the hammer. The hammer allows the actual construction of a building. The blueprint must be placed within 60 meters of supplies, and after that it can be assembled. The engineer class is also not the only one with a hammer, so you can remind your teammates when you're constructing to help you pound stuff out. It makes the process go a lot faster if you're trying to build a fortification. The next equipment you get is the anti-tank mine. The anti-tank mine is an anti-tank mine that can be put in the road, and also it cannot be destroyed by small arms fire. That is not the same as the anti-personnel mine, which is your next equipment and does get destroyed by small arms fire. This also wraps up the entire loadout for the engineer. Now it does switch just a little bit between teams, but not too drastically. Mainly the Belgian gate and the tire jack for German and Army. But basically, it doesn't matter which team you like. It's kind of down to which primary you like the most. The way I see it is you find which team has your favorite primary. I like the Car 98K, so I play a lot of German. And then you just kind of stick to that team, or do whatever you want. Now make sure to keep on watching, because in this next section I'm going to tell you how to get supplies, because you may have been asking yourself, okay, I know how to build stuff now, but how do I get supplies? Now this next section I'm going to show you all about that, every possible thing I can think of. So stick along. In this section, I will be teaching you the essentials of supplies. That involves everything to get supplies, how supplies are used, and how to keep supplies on the front line at all times. The first thing to explain are the three types of supplies. The first is the supply drop. This is called in by the commander and it provides 100 supplies. The second is the supply box. These are supplied by support players and give you 50 supplies, and they are a godsend when you actually get someone to drop one. Hey, can you drop supplies? Bro, my fucking god. The third and most reliable option is the supply truck. These are spawned in by the commander at HQ. Once you have one, you can drop off 2 supply boxes, which will give 150 supplies apiece. You can also drive it back to HQ ammo depots and refill them constantly. As long as your truck does not get destroyed, you can continuously refill it with supplies. Now that we know how to use supplies and move them, what is the best use of them for an engineer? Now, the number one most important thing you can do is build resource nodes. Resource nodes are different nodes. You have a manpower, munitions, and fuel. These provide different abilities to the commander and to the team as a whole. This is the manpower node. When you press your map, the very middle symbol of the boot is the manpower. Every time someone on your team dies, you lose 1 manpower. This makes the respawn timer for garrisons go up higher. Manpower affects a couple of commander abilities. The number one is an airhead. An airhead can be dropped behind enemy lines and used as a mobile spawn point. The other is dismantling friendly garrisons. This is useful because you can dismantle a friendly garrison and then place another garrison in a better position nearby without getting hit by the 200-meter mark. The other is a reinforce. Now, reinforce can be put on a point by a commander, and it basically makes everyone on the point worth more defenders. It's harder for the enemy to take it. It can also encourage nodes, which gives nodes a higher output for a set amount of time. The second node we'll talk about is the munitions node. Now, in my opinion, the munitions are the most important resource. It is always in low supply and it is always highly needed. That is because the commander abilities that use this are supply drops, which is the supply drop, which gives you 100 supplies for putting garrison somewhere. Bombing runs, which takes 300 munitions, which is a whole lot. Strafing runs, and recon planes. Now the other thing is artillery. Every single shot of artillery takes 3 munitions. Every smoke round costs 5 munitions. So obviously the more munitions nodes you have, the better. It is constantly being used. The last type of resource node there is fuel. And fuel is super important. Every single vehicle that gets spawned by a commander needs fuel. That means the transport trucks, the supply trucks, recon tanks, heavy tanks, light tanks, medium tanks, the works. Every single vehicle needs fuel. So having those fuel nodes down ensures that every time your team needs a vehicle, you will have a vehicle. It is so important. So now you know what nodes are and how the team uses them and why they're important. But an important thing to remember is nodes can only be placed in friendly territory. And when you lose the point securing that friendly territory, your nodes will be destroyed. But there's a little trick I'll teach you on how to make sure your nodes never get destroyed. So what you want to do is you want to get supplies right after the second quadrant mark on the map. You cannot drop supplies before the second quadrant map, so you'll see why that's important in a second. So now, once you get the supplies at that second mark, you walk back behind the second mark and you place your nodes there. And what this does is it basically secures your nodes and makes sure that you cannot lose them until you lose the second to last point compared to the third point, which is a whole lot better. This is essentially everything you need to know to get started building nodes. Now, there is one last thing I want to say before I wrap up the section on nodes, and that is that there are 2 hidden passive abilities with the nodes. Number 1 is the manpower node. If you place a manpower node as an engineer, and a support stands by the manpower node, he will get a half-time reduction on his box. Now, the other one is the munitions node. This does the exact same thing, but for the rifleman in the ammo box. It also works with the support that is tier 2 and has anti-tank ammo. He will refill faster by the munitions box. Now, we are going to wrap up our supply section because the last thing that you can do with supplies is build defensive fortifications. Now, in this next section, I will show you every defensive fortification you can build and how to effectively set them up in a somewhat decent manner. In this section, I'll be telling you how to use defensive fortifications. First defensive fortification we have up is the level 1 bunker. The level 1 bunker costs 75 supplies and gives a good amount of cover to your team, but upgrading is ideally what you want to do, because the level 2 bunker, as you can see, it has a little bit more cover than the level 1 bunker, protects against explosives a little bit better, they won't hit you through walls, and better option than level 1, 125 supplies. Then we have the level 3 bunker. The level 3 bunker is the best option and is personally my favorite fortification in the game. As you can tell, it has a lot more cover, defends against artillery shots, bombing runs, and explosives. Best option. If you're doing your math with me, you counted 350 supplies for a level 3 bunker. So therefore, the quickest way to get a level 3 bunker is to have a supply man drop his supply box and bring a full supply truck. 2 supply drops and a supply man supply box will get you a level 3 bunker as soon as possible. So first up, we have the level 1 barricade. Now the level 1 barricade is the minimum amount of cover you can give your team, and it has no protection from explosives. Next is the level 2 barricade. Now you can see it provides the same amount of cover, but this one has a little bit of cover from explosives. Finally, we've arrived at the level 3 barricade. The level 3 barricade provides cover from explosives and a lot more cover for your team from regular fire, and you can fit a tank behind it. Another option you have is building a repair station. The repair station is a very integral part of the battlefield. What the repair station allows you to do is it will automatically repair friendly vehicles in the area. This is very helpful when placed with a level 3 bunker and a barricade, because a tank can sit right behind the barricade, be constantly repaired by the repair station, and they have support with the infantry from the bunker. This is the Belgian Gate. This is the variant for the German army of the tank Jack. What these do is you set them up in roads and vehicles cannot pass them. Now let's take a look at what all of this looks like put together. As you can see, the tank is rolling in, but this is barbed wire matched with 2 level 3 barricades, a repair station, and a level 3 bunker. As you can tell, this is a very secure position and it will be very hard for the enemy to advance any further, especially with that tank sitting there. He can sit there all day, he is under good cover, and he will be constantly repaired. So now we're going to look into how expensive building a defensive encampment like that would be. So what you need is one level 3 bunker, which costs 350 supplies. Then you need 2 level 3 barricades, which will cost you 300 supplies in total. The 4 barbed wire cost 40 supplies, and the repair station will cost you 50 supplies. This will lead up to the grand total of supplies being 750 needed. So that may seem like a lot of supplies. Let's break it down. Now, 750 supplies may seem like a lot. We're going to round up 10. But in reality, the quickest way you can get there is one supply man supply box, one airdrop, which will give you 100 supplies, and 2 complete supply truck runs, which will give you 600 supplies. Now, in reality, people do not like to work together. So the easiest way to do it is say fuck your teammates and get 3 supply truck runs, which will get you 900 supplies, which is plenty to mess around with to add more encampments and whatever else you may need. Barbed wire, Belgian gates, tire jacks, whatever you need. This wraps up my basic engineer tutorial. Now, hopefully, my goal here is to make it where people go out and they kind of have a sense of what they do. Because I remember when I started playing engineer and I didn't really know what to do. I stayed off of it for a while. Then, once I learned what I was doing, I found that to be probably one of the most fun classes to play in the entire game. You can completely control your defense. You can completely control your offense. A good engineer who puts nodes down will change every single game they're in. Now, once again, I would like to ask if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, hit it with a like, subscribe, and if I missed anything, just make sure to comment on it. I'll probably follow this up with like an advanced engineer tutorial at some point. But that's pretty much it for today. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and go out there and make your dad proud.